Hi there, let's take a look at the Transition Designer and a bit of a deep dive. I'm going to go click up here, go to Transitions. A custom transition is exactly what it sounds like. It is a transition that is created by you. It is part of your team. So anyone on your team can use these transitions. You don't have to, tell Bob in accounting that he needs to create a similar transition. He can just use the one that you've created, and vice versa. You can use somebody else's transition that they've made as long as they're on the same team. I'm going to click the plus button to create a new transition, and I'm greeted with this screen here, which has a couple of things that we're going to look into. First of all is the details, and well, there's not too many details as of yet. Right now it's just the name, so I can call this Tim's Transition, why not? And I'm going to fold that, and then I'm going to open up the next area called the Wipe area. So the Wipe currently is set to a crossfade. So if I click down here in the simulator, I can simulate what my transition is going to currently look like. Right now, just the crossfade, as you saw. I can set this to all sorts of fancy included ones, which are listed alphabetically here. For example, our old favorite, the Radial. Now, you'll see what's happened is it's showing me what the Radial Wipe image looks like. A wipe is technically a film editing term where the projected image of the scene appears to be pushed or wiped off the screen by the next image that follows. And in this one, we are mainly using gradient wipes. So what the platform is going to do is any pixel in this wipe image that is brighter is going to disappear first. So in this Radial one, for example, you'll notice that it goes from the center being all white to the edges being all black. And if we go down here and we simulate that, sure enough, it is radially fading our image from one to the other, using this as a mask, basically. Now, there's some neat things that we've allowed within this editor. One of them is reversing. So if I click the reverse button, everything that's black is going to disappear first, followed by everything that's white in our image. So we can reverse things. We have this duration, which is fairly self-explanatory. This is in seconds. So if I bump this up to 3 seconds, you'll see that we have a much slower wipe. I'm going to turn that reverse back off again so we get the nice slow zoom in effect. And then the next parameter is this softness here. So you'll see if I crank it all the way down here, you'll see that 0 is maximum sharpness. So watch what happens now when I simulate this image at a softness of 0. Okay, so it doesn't apply any blending. It just strictly goes by the luminosity of the color. So very bright colors will get transitioned, and then it'll move on to the next set of pixels that are a different color and the next set of pixels, and it's a very, very sharp effect. Okay, you can apply a little bit of softness, even just a smidge, and it will blend more of those colors together up until you get into the very high end of the softness area. And you do get a whole lot of blending. And if you set it to 1, that's maximum softness. Whoosh, right? And so there's a lot of blending that occurs. Completely up to you how you want to use this. Okay, so that's the Radial one. We also include some fun ones like the clock. We also include, let's say, the curtain one, which simulates some curtains opening and or closing. Don't forget you have the reverse functionality. We have horizontal, which of course you can have going from left to right or right to left. Setting the softness at 0, this gives you a very good idea of what can be accomplished with the adjusting the softness. You get a very digital looking wipe doing it that way. You'll also notice that this image is zooming. Okay, so we have underneath wipe, if I open up movement here, you'll see that we have a whole other section where we can define how the camera moves when people click and activate this transition. I'm going to just crack open wipe just for a second, and I'm going to set the softness up a bit so it's not so drastic. And remember, we've got the wipe at 3 seconds, but yet movement is at 1.5 seconds. So we allow you to set the timings for both the movement and the wipe independently, depending on how you want to do things. So right now, I've got the rotate strength set to 40%, and this is where the camera will move to when someone clicks. So for example, if I click in the middle, you'll just see that we get that kind of nice zoom effect followed by the wipe. Now, if I click over in the corner, the camera is rotating to where my click was. So you can adjust the strength of that as well. So for example, if I put that all the way up to 100, and I come over here, and I'm going to click the top of the hotel here. And so at the end of this transition, the top of the hotel is going to be right in the middle of our image here. Okay, so at 100% rotate strength, wherever the person clicks in your image, like if I click this little guy down here, they are going to be rotated into view, so they, at the end of the transition, are appearing right in the middle of the view. Zoom works very similarly. So for example, I can have it so it will zoom into that location as well. So again, let's click these people over here. Boom. Okay, so they now zoom and rotate into the center of the screen, again offering you a ton of flexibility. We can adjust the duration independently, as I had shown before, so we can make that a lot slower. We can even make it slower than the wipe. Up until now, we have been using the built-in wipes. Just show you the Venetian blinds. Who doesn't like a good Venetian blind fade? Right? Up until now, we haven't changed this one, the wipe type. You have the ability to use your own custom images. That means that you can upload your own gradient wipes or any image you want, really, depending on what you need. If you don't have any sort of program which will allow you to generate your own gradient fills, which most image editing and designing programs will allow you to do, we also provide you with your own little gradient wipe designer. So I've got it set to linear right now, and I can click anywhere I want and generate any sort of linear gradient fill that I'm so inclined. So if I want a very diagonal gradient as my fill, I can generate one like that. If I'm not happy with it, I can just drag another one. For example, if I just do something like this, like a half gradient, I can download that as an image. It's now saved it to my hard drive, and I can go back up here, drop that in, and immediately see what that looks like. I'm going to delete that one. Linear fills, any kind you want, as well as radial. So you can generate your own radial fills if you're so inclined. So let's say I want to do simulate a spotlight shining down, for example. So I could do something like this. Yep, download that. And I'll drop in my new spotlight effect that I've made. And I'm going to adjust the duration of that just a little bit. And now let's see how that looks. Oh, but now it looks like we're zooming up into the spotlight, which isn't what I wanted. So all we have to do is click the reverse because I'd left that on. And now if I click down here, whoosh, you can see that it opens up like a spotlight. Great. Okay, so now you have the ability to upload your own images. If you don't have any way of making your images, you can use the gradient wipe generator. That's cool and all, but what if we got a little bit creative with it? Let's say we wanted to do something like this. So what I've done is I have taken the SeekBeak logo and I've dropped it into an image editing program that allowed me to make gradient fills. And what I did is I created a gradient fill in the background, but I've also done the opposite for the SeekBeak logo. So it's going to fade from left to right on the SeekBeak logo, but right to left in the background image. So let's see how that looks. Pretty slick. So you can imagine how powerful this feature is, allowing you to upload client logos, your own logo, any sort of custom branding you want, and having that as a transition between any of your images. So let's have a play around with another favorite transition of mine, right? So this gives you a ton of flexibility in making your own custom transitions. And let's just go here and save that. Now, using these custom transitions is as easy as using the built-in default ones. So if I go to my rental hotspot here, all of my custom ones will appear at the bottom, so I can just select Tim's transition. And remember, this is our fancy star wipe here with a bit of zoom. Whoosh. There we go. We're warped into that using our new star wipe immediately. At any point, you can go back and edit your custom transitions as well, and it will take effect immediately. So if I decide that, hey, yes, this star wipe is the best, and in fact, it's so good that I want to make everyone have to look at it longer, so I'm going to set it to 4 seconds there, and maybe I'll bump that up to another second as well. I save that, and that's now updated, and everyone who's viewing my content will now, from this point forward, be looking using those new transitions. So if you're still here, let's take a look at the advanced section in the custom transitions. I'm going to create a new one, and I'm just going to go over to wipe here, and I'm going to set it to something so it's very obvious what we're doing. So I'll set the softness down to 0, and I'm going to turn the movement off just for this example. So I'll set rotate and zoom to 0. So now all we get is this very obvious horizontal wipe here. In the advanced panel, and this is the same for both movement as well as the wipe areas. Once you understand it in one of them, you get it for all of them. This is adjusting the easing of it. So right now, when I click it, it kind of starts off slow and then slows down at the end. I'm going to go like this just so it's a little more obvious what's going on. Okay, so it's not a linear type of easing. So for example, if I set this to ease out, it's going to start off quicker and slow down near the end. Okay, and ease in is the opposite. It slowly ramps up to maximum speed and then just keeps with that maximum speed. Okay, did you see that? Now, the power and all of these ones will specify the type of the curve. These are all mathematical functions here. So power 4 is going to be a lot stronger than power 1. So now if I do the ease in, you'll see that it takes a longer time to ramp up, and then it just kind of zips off the end. And likewise, if we do ease out, it's going to zip over and then slowly ease out a lot more drastically. And then we have some kind of esoteric ones like elastic and bounce. If I do ease in and ease out, you see it kind of bounces at the start. Let's just do that at the end. Okay, so you can generate some pretty neat effects depending on what you're trying to do. Then we have this elastic one as well, which is kind of like a much faster bounce. Manipulating these eases can give your transitions a lot of life that you wouldn't be able to get with just your typical linear easing motions. And that is the deep dive into the Transition Designer. I hope to see some cool transitions from you soon.